Greetings, YouTube. I'm currently reading the Umerica Survival Guide, which is a post-apocalyptic setting based loosely off of Thunder the Barbarian and inspired based off that from the comic Under a Broken Moon. So Under the Broken Moon inspired by Thunder by the Barbarian, and then the Umerica Survival Guide is based off the comic. I've never read the comic. I've heard of it prior to the purchasing of this book, and it is based on the DCC engine, the Dungeon Crawl Classic engine. And I found a copy of the Umerica Survival Guide at a Bull Moose Music in Keene, New Hampshire for $15 or something like that. 14 or 15 bucks, I think it was. And that's really cheap. Normally, I'm spending at least $30 off of Amazon for a copy. And it apparently was part of a Kickstarter. So yeah, I guess it's still available, but I don't know if it was how difficult it would be to get a hard copy of this book now. So I got a hard copy for like 14 or 15 bucks. Excuse me, I forget which. Now I've had a friend warn me that DCC isn't my kettle of fish. Okay, because he knows my taste when it comes to RPGs. And when I purchased the Umerica Survival Guide, I thought it was just a game based off of DCC, and I'm a lot more forgiving when it comes to post-apocalyptic rules, particularly ones based off Thunder the Barbarian. And I went, okay, I can handle this even if it isn't an engine that I'm particularly in love with. Only to discover that it isn't a standalone game. It is, in fact, a supplement to DCC. And to actually understand all the mechanics that they discuss, you really need a copy of DCC, which I now own. I picked up a copy of that at, interestingly enough, a BAM, a Books A Million. They had a copy there going for $40. So I spent $40 on a book that I'm probably not going to like a whole lot. But I wanted to make sure I had a good grasp of the mechanics that pertain to the Umerica Survival Guide. And one of the reasons my friend suggested that I should steer clear of DCC, and it was a good call on my friend's part, was the whole racial character class. Now, I don't have a problem with unusual races. I have a problem with racial character classes. Essentially, where you have to spend your character classes just being a race, not a class. You're just spending your experience points to be a member of a species. Now, there is some justification in D&D and Pathfinder if the race you want to play is very powerful. Because that way you can play a very powerful race because you're playing that race from a lower level. You're gaining your racial abilities, and then you can play a player character after that. But that does mean you have less power for your class. So it still leaves kind of a bad taste in my mouth, but there's a justification for that in my book. It's a very powerful race, and you have to have some kind of balancing factor. Okay? But when it comes to nothing but a racial character class, I have a problem with that because it's biological determinism. It's saying that you get to be this thing right here. And that's the only thing you get to be. If you were human, you could be a doctor or a lawyer or a cop. But no. You want to play a cyborg in the Umerica setting, that's all you're ever going to be. You're going to be a cyborg. Even though you're a cyborg human, you're just a human with mechanical components. You can't be a wasteland warrior if you're a cyborg. You can't be a wizard. You can't be a tech head, even though being a gearhead kind of makes a lot of sense if you're a cyborg. In fact, it might even be argued that you have a better insight to the mechanical nature of things because they're a part of your nature. But nope. in the Umerica setting, if you want to play a cyborg or their settings version of the Mox, remember Ukla the Mock? He was awesome. Oh, then that's all you can be. You can be a Mock, or you can be a mutant, or you can be a cyborg, but you can't be a cyborg warrior. You can't be a Mock wizard. You can't be a mutant tech head. Nope, you're just gonna be what you are. Again, there is no way I can parse this kind of biological determinism without bringing in discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice. This is like saying, oh, no, you can't be a lawyer, you're a plaid person. And plaid people can only be ditch diggers. Plaid people can, only be laborers. You can't be a lawyer. No, that's not allowed. Can't be a cop, can't be a politician. You are a ditch digger. And that gets under my skin in a very nasty way. So, why can't you build the rules around having humans have certain advantages, and mutants having certain advantages, and cyborgs having certain advantages, and you can build those into the classes. So you have a template system, if I may borrow that term from Pathfinder, where a human wizard has one kind of a track, and a cyborg wizard has another kind of a track, and a mock gearhead has a different track from a human tech head. But they can be the things they are regardless of how they were born into the world. And it's okay if you're a mutant. It's okay if you're a mock. It's okay if you're a normal human. If you're a genetically pure human. You can be any of the things you want to be without restrictions. You just have different tracks that take into account who you are. Yes, I'm actually bringing the concepts of intersectional feminism into role-playing games. It's admitting that people are different, but that does not mean they have to be discriminated against. That a mock gearhead is going to be different than a human gearhead or a mutant gearhead. That's not a radical concept. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm saying that being a mock and a gearhead is different from being a human and a gearhead. But they should be all viewed equally. And yes, that does make things a little more complex. I freely admit that. But if that additional complexity means you are removing the biological determinism and dooming someone to the fate of only being the thing they were born into the world, or in the case of cyborgs, built into the world to be, I'm willing to take that hit. The game's got vehicle combat rules. I'd be willing to lose the vehicle combat rules in favor of having classes and races separate and letting everybody play anything they want. I know I'm a radical socialist. I've always hated the idea that a race limited your character. All the way back in BASIC, it bugged the crap out of me. It bugs the crap out of me in the rules cyclopedia. I've got a copy right here that some people seem to love so much. And I realize that DCC is supposed to be a love letter to the D&D of the 1970s. I get that. And my position has been for a very long time that we played those games because those were the games we had. And that over time, we developed better games. And I have to say that I'm bugged that some people thought that, no, you shouldn't play those better games. I want to play these older versions. Now, people are going to say, but those new games aren't better, they're different. If you're taking biological determinism out of a set of rules, the game's better. flat out. Now, if you want to play, second edition D&D, which took that away, as opposed to third edition or Pathfinder, all right, I not kind of want to play with you, but I can kind of see that. Some people have a sweet spot. They loved, the kits in second edition, and some people hated the kits in second edition. I used the kits in second edition without a problem. I'm not a big fan of prestige classes in 3.5 or Pathfinder. I prefer a 20 level class that has templates that'll let you tailor who you want to play and how you want to play it. And I think there's room for all of us in that arena, if you will. But if you're gonna throw people into a game where they have to play, if they want to play a dwarf, that's all they're going to be able to play is a dwarf, or a mock, or a mutant, or a cyborg, and they don't get to be anything other than that, I got a problem with it. I also have a problem with wizards having their spells generated randomly. That's a horrible, horrible mechanic. I can remember when you could play a wizard in D&D and have 1 hit point, and the only spell you can start the game with was, say, comprehend languages. Not the most useful in combat, and your survivability was 0. But, roll 3 die 6, keep them in order. We're hardcore. You can't play what you want. You play what the dice dictate. That school of thought is one I've left behind. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. I'm a big proponent of point buy. You should get to play what you want, because playing the character is the only thing you get to do. You should play the character you want to do, and that character should be able to do everything every other character class can do, regardless of your character's species, or race, if you'd like to call it that. So, yeah, reading the Umerica Survivor Guide has really brought that right back into the front of my head, which is why I'm making this video today. There will be a review about the Umerica Survivor Guide when I'm done. I'm almost finished. And I'm going to take a look at DCC. I'm not going to read the whole damn book. It's literally this thick. I will read the mechanics so I understand what they're trying to say and how they're trying to say it, and I will read enough of the sections so I have an understanding of how they're handling monsters and combat and magic and all that stuff. But I don't feel any desire to read the thing from cover to cover. I just don't. So let's talk about racial classes. Do you like them? Do you think they have a place in a game? Do you think that they don't have a place in a game? Can you give me a good example of a game that has racial classes that I could find acceptable? For example, the D20 version of Cook's version of the World of Darkness essentially was nothing but a bunch of racial classes. And I really didn't have a problem with it, because that's all you could play. That was it. Everybody got to play racial classes. So at least the playing board is all nice and flat and even. Everybody's on the same field in that game. But can you show me a game that has a mix of, you can be any kind of class you want, and there are also people who can only be the race they were born into, that I would find acceptable? I'd be intrigued to find that game. I would read that game and see if I agree. Alrighty, so let's talk racial classes. Who loves them, who hates them, and who doesn't care?